Ooh! It's your witchy friend Grace from Small World's Big Adventures with a little Spooktober announcement before our review of the heart-stopping board game Alice is Missing. This week and the next 3 weeks, we'll be giving away a game from our personal collection. This week's is Unlock, Mystery Adventures House on the Hill, a spooky escape room in a box. To qualify, you must live in the United States and comment on at least one video this week, October 1st through 7th. We will then randomly choose a winner from the comments. Also, everyone who comments throughout the month, from the 1st to the 30th, will be entered for a brand new copy of Horrified, a maddening cooperative board game with iconic monsters. We'll announce the winner by commenting on one of the winning person's comments and announce on each Sunday's video who has won. The more videos you comment on, the greater chance you will have to win. So let us know what your thoughts are on each game.
Hi, I'm Gracie, and this is Scott from Small World's Big Adventures, and today we are going to be discussing Alice is Missing.
Alice is Missing is a game for 3 to 5 players. It plays in about 2 to 3 hours. Now, part of that is setting up for the game. You kind of craft characters, and then the game itself is timed and plays out over 90 minutes. The cost for the game is about $22 online. Setup and teardown. Teardown, there really isn't anything. You collect the cards, and again, the setup can be done fairly quickly, which I think is why it's got the 2 to 5 hours thing, but it's probably going to take you around a half an hour to get ready. Players are given roles. You are teenagers in a small coastal town, and your friend has gone missing. And essentially, you are role-playing through text chat and guiding kind of how the story goes, while the game has a skeletal framework of events and things that can happen and places where you can go. A lot of it is left up to you kind of until the end.
Yeah. This is got very big true crime feels, which I love a good true crime story. And I'm always looking for some good recommendations. So if you have a recommendation of a true crime story, put it down below. And until the next good true crime story comes out, you may want to check this game. But let's go into our ratings first. We rate our categories on a 5-point scale from terrible, bad, mixed, good to excellent. And we start with player agency. What do you think of player agency?
I think player agency was excellent. The game gives you some guidance, but gives you a lot of leeway in kind of how you want to play your character out and kind of how you act as you're moving through what are essentially chapters of the game. There's not really a lot of hindrance there. In some sense, when we played, having no one had played before, that's also a little bit of a hindrance because you're not quite sure what you can't do. And so there's very little guidelines on what is and isn't appropriate, I guess. But I would still say it's excellent. You have almost complete freedom.
Yeah. I say it's mixed because you do have all of that freedom. But at least it didn't seem like you had any impact on the outcome of the game. That I remember.
Yeah, without giving too much away, and having only played the one time.
The one time, yep.
It seemed like the result of Alice's disappearance isn't affected by basically anything that you did.
No.
You just discover it, which, like, you know, if somebody actually died in real life, they're already dead anyway.
That's true, yeah.
Should that be the outcome?
Yeah.
So, you know, it makes some sense, but yes, that is correct.
And then mechanics-wise, I thought they were very good. In the sense of, like, you're not allowed to talk during the game. You only communicate via technology. I think we did, like, messenger apps, or, like, Facebook Messenger, and we had, like, a group app, and then, like, we could message each other separately. And so like I think that worked really well. And then when you do pull cards, it's very well structured and you know what to do based on that. But
yeah, the mechanics are good. That pretty well describes what it is. Your interactions with each other are through, you have a group text, and then you also have individual direct messaging that you're doing. And that works. It works really well. You can split off into different rooms if you want. You kind of have one person guiding you through it. There's supposed to be somebody who's read through all the rules, and they're kind of keeping track of the cards, so they kind of have to. Sure, the gamekeeper. So they kind of have to keep near where the cards and stuff are to make sure everything's running smoothly. But people, like, literally, you don't have to be in the same location really at the end of the day. And yeah, they, for guiding you through it, they work pretty good. Again, there could have been a little bit more guidance, I feel like, especially for a first-time group without anybody playing. We weren't quite sure what to expect. And so in that sense, that I give it good instead of an excellent rating for the mechanics. But otherwise, yeah, they're good.
And then components-wise, we kind of touched on it. There's not a lot to the game, which is why I give it like a mixed review. What's there is fine. That's like thin cardboard cards and things like that. But a lot of like what the game actually entails is whatever technology you have access to. Which is neither here nor there, but that's why I have it as mixed. The parts that are there aren't awful, but they don't exactly give you everything.
Yeah, I rate this poor. I stand by that, but I feel a little bit bad in as much as there just isn't anything in the way of components. It's a couple of small card decks that guide you through a little bit of stuff, and that's it. The components work well for the game. And so, like, mechanically and everything, that's like, those are good. But if you're talking about actual components, there just isn't any components, basically. There's a deck, 2 small decks of cards is what you got. Which is fine. Like, the game is cheap, they work, but they're not some really impressive, neat things going on with any of that.
Theming is the best part of the whole game. I rated it excellent. I think you rated it excellent.
Yeah, I rated excellent.
For a game that is about someone you know disappearing, the way they set up everything, even the tidbits of information you get, like, carries that feeling out. The way they structure the game also lends itself to that feeling like you're part of this mystery and true crimes scenario.
Yeah, I also rate the theming excellent. I do think that some of that probably has to do with the people that you play with.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But otherwise, it worked real well in our game.
Yeah. We played with some of our core Dungeons and Dragons group people, and people who are like really into like
theater folk.
Yeah, theater folk. Us the least so, but we do enjoy that. So having people who are really dedicated to like becoming the players definitely helps. Enjoyability. I will let you go first.
Sure. My enjoyability was mixed. At the end of the day, thought this game works well for what it is. But when we were done, I did not feel good and had no intention of playing it a second time pretty much ever. Now, at this point, I've had a couple of people be interested in the game and ask about it. I actually might play it a second time. It was an experience that was worth having, but not an experience that I would want to do. Okay. Certainly not often.
Yeah. I rate the enjoyability as terrible. Just in the sense of like, you walk away from the game going, oh, I got trauma from this. And like, maybe should go mixed, because on the one hand, like, the way the game is built is beautifully done. Like, there's few games that can evoke that sort of emotional thing.
Sure.
But if you're just talking about enjoyability, I did not enjoy it. But I respect it, don't enjoy it.
I mean, I think that comes down, and you gave it excellent for theming.
Yeah,
and that makes sense. And your enjoyability of it, how much you enjoyed it, not so much. Yeah, no, I think you came up with that quite right. What were your final thoughts? What were your takeaways?
Well, I mean, the biggest part of it is like you walk away feeling traumatized. And again, we played it once. There could be multiple endings. We're not going to tell you what ending we had. But even if we had a different ending, I think we would have still came out of it feeling that like weight of having experienced like a negative, life-changing experience. What about you? Oh, well, I mean, I say what about you because I know you also list the trauma.
Sure. Well, okay. Yeah, also the trauma.
Yeah.
It is hard. The game itself is built around this traumatic event. We played it with people who were very into exploring that, including ourselves.
Yeah.
And our session, at any rate, did a good job of pulling that out of us, and just feeling gloomier and gloomier.
Yeah.
And then, so by the end, I felt traumatized.
Yeah.
It was not a good. It was not a good experience.
Yeah.
It was not a pleasant experience. Maybe that's the way to do it. If you enjoy exploring that, then I think great, especially if you've got a group that's really good at doing that. But I think when we finished, I looked around the table, and it was a table full of people whose faces looked like they were wrecked. And
I think like we're all like very much like introverted people, and like we all went to our like introvert corners and decompressed.
Yeah, everybody just kind of just walked away.
Yeah,
we were basically, that was the end of the day basically for us.
I think because of that too, like this, whoever created this game, like the dynamics of it, who is it? Spencer Stark. Oh, Spencer Stark. Good on ya. Like, it's probably one of my most respected games. Because there are a few games, like, there's lots of games that have themes and whatnot, but there's not so many games where you authentically, like, feel like you're part of that and what is going on. I'm not saying I want to be part of that, but, like, the immersive capabilities of it were outstanding. And I really respect the way they, like, cultivated that with minimal resources. And, again, leaning heavily on our players, you know, we didn't have such convincing players, maybe it wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
But my final thought is I would never play this again. Never, ever. They come out with an expansion. No, thank you.
Yeah, that's fair. My other two takeaways were the game is pretty bare bones. It gives you some information or guidelines for like your background for your characters to kind of set those up. Kind of gives you some like secretive stuff that you're supposed to kind of sprinkle in as you go along. It kind of guides you through the investigation, and then it kind of has an ending. But it is bare bones enough that the game probably is really dependent on the people you play with. Again, the people we played with were very into it, and it drove that experience. We were very into it as well, not just the other players, but us as well. If you play with a group of people who aren't as into it or aren't as interested in role-playing stuff out, you're probably going to have a very different experience, and it's hard to even say what that would be. My other takeaway is, by the very dynamic of it being basically just texting between each other, you wouldn't even have to be in the same state. You could pretty much play this with people remotely as long as you had some way to get them, when they have to draw their cards, a way to see what those cards are without anybody else seeing them. Would be the only tricky part to do that. And honestly, things like Tabletop Simulator has a way that you can do that, and I'm sure you could come up with something. So as long as somebody had the game and was running everything in one spot, you could play this split up and remotely pretty easily. And
you might end up doing that.
Yeah, we might. We have talked about it. That might happen.
Scott's friend group from high school, they're all across the country, so they can't possibly be in the same room without a lot of travel accommodations. But if you like role-playing games, whether it's Dungeons and Dragons, Call of Cthulhu, Vampire Masquerade, then you'll probably like this. Also, if you like the game Werewolf.
If you like Call of Cthulhu or Vampire Masquerade, you'll probably enjoy this more than
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons, if I'm being honest. But
That's
yes,
fair. Also, the game Werewolf.
the tabletop game Werewolf or
Yep.
games like that.
Mhm.
It isn't, Alice is Missing isn't quite a hidden role thing, but everybody
No.
kind of has secretive background stuff to kind of help flesh stuff out, and so it kind of falls into that.
Yeah, for sure. I will say, having said all of that, I would recommend people doing the game once.
Yeah, we've talked about before games that we've sent to the basement.
Yes.
Or even games that we don't like. And this is not that.
No.
While I did not enjoy where I was at the end of the game, it is definitely one that I could easily recommend for somebody who is at all interested in trying it out.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interesting experience at the very least.
For sure. But if you liked our review and found our thoughts interesting, go ahead and hit that like button. Also, if you want to see more game reviews, walkthroughs, gamekeeper advice from Scott, you can hit subscribe. And if you hit that notification bell, you'll be notified the next time we upload. If there's nothing else, we'll see you next time.